Welcome to HOA Citation Circus. This one escalated fast in the snow. The tow hook is going on, and you can either comply or watch your car leave. That was Julie Sanchez, standing in my driveway at 6:45 on a Thursday morning in February, aiming her handheld infrared thermometer at my sidewalk like she was about to call in an airstrike. Behind her, a flatbed tow truck idled in the street, exhaust plumes mixing with the freezing fog rolling off the snowbanks. The driver leaned against the cab, arms crossed, waiting for her signal. I am a county clerk in Columbia, Maryland. I spend 40 hours a week processing public records requests, which means I know exactly how notice periods work, what constitutes proof of delivery, and when someone is lying about documentation. Julie knew none of this when she decided to come after me, and that ignorance was about to cost her everything. She yelled that my path was too narrow for safe passage and she was documenting it and filing a notice for immediate compliance. I looked at the sidewalk. I had shoveled it Tuesday night after the latest storm dropped 4 inches. The path was 28 inches wide, cleared down to bare concrete with neat edges and minimal ice. I had measured it myself because I knew this was coming. Julie had been circling me for 3 weeks, ever since I set up a small folding table on my driveway to hand out hot cocoa to neighbors while we all shoveled. She called it an unapproved event setup and sent me a violation notice citing a rule she refused to show me the actual text of. That table was the trigger, but the real problem was my home-based business license. I run a small bookkeeping service out of my spare bedroom, completely legal under county zoning. Julie wanted it revoked. She told 3 neighbors at the mailbox cluster that I was running a commercial operation that violated the Sleetstone Reserve HOA covenants, and she was going to make an example of me. One of those neighbors recorded her on his phone and sent me the file. I saved it, but I did not tell Julie. I wanted her to commit to the lie in public first. The tow driver cleared his throat. Julie turned and waved him forward. I stayed calm. I had 20 minutes before I needed to leave for work, and I was not going to let her take my car without a fight. But I also was not going to reveal my hand yet. The trump card stays hidden until the moment flips. Julie pulled out her phone and started taking photos of my sidewalk. She crouched low, angling the camera to make the path look narrower than it was. I watched her work. She was good at this. She had been the communications director for the Sleetstone Reserve HOA board for 6 years, which meant she controlled every email blast, every meeting notice, every official announcement. If you crossed her, you never found out about hearings until after they happened. If she wanted you fined, the notice would arrive with a date already passed and a late fee already applied. That was her method. Rule quote theater. She would read a rule out loud at you, cite a section number, refuse to show you the actual covenant text, and then escalate to fines before you could verify anything. I had seen her do it to 4 other homeowners in the past year. 2 of them paid. 1 moved. 1 is still fighting a line. I was not going to be number 5. Julie stood up and turned back to me. I am calling management, and I am going to be dramatic about it, she said. Her voice was clipped, performative. She wanted me to panic. Instead, I pulled my phone out and opened my notes app. I had been logging every interaction with her since the cocoa table incident. Dates, times, witnesses, exact quotes. I also had the email chain from the management company that accidentally CC'd me on an internal thread where they admitted the hearing notice for my supposed February 1st violation had been sent February 3rd. 2 days late. That was my evidence type, and I was saving the reveal for the right moment. The tow driver walked closer. Ma'am, he said, looking at Julie, I need a signed authorization or a board resolution before I hook anything. Julie stiffened. She pulled a folded paper from her coat pocket and handed it to him. He unfolded it, scanned it, frowned. This just says unapproved parking, he said. There is no date, no signature, no stamp. Julie snatched it back. The board will back me because they are afraid of me, she snapped. I filed that line away. Boomerang loaded. The driver shook his head. "I need proper paperwork or I am leaving," he said. Julie's face went red. She jabbed her finger at my car. "That vehicle is in violation of snow emergency placement rules," she said. "He was supposed to move it 48 hours ago and he refused." I felt my jaw tighten. There had been no snow emergency declared by the county. I checked the alert system every morning. Julie was inventing rules in real time. I pulled up the county emergency management page on my phone and held it toward the driver. "No active snow emergency," I said. He glanced at it, then at Julie, then back at his truck. "I am not getting involved in an HOA dispute without clear documentation," he said. He walked back to the cab, climbed in, and pulled away. The diesel rumble faded down the street. Julie stood there, vibrating. "You just made this worse," she said. "You are going to get a notice for obstruction, for refusal to comply, and for damaging common property." I blinked. "What common property?" She pointed at the curb. "Your snow pile pushed into the street and the plow had to go around it. You damaged the plow route, and the association is billing you for the extra pass." That was the side complication. 2 days ago, the county plow had come through and dumped a 3-foot berm of slush and ice right across the end of my driveway. I shoveled it into a neat pile on the curb strip, which is county right-of-way, not HOA property. But Julie had taken photos immediately after the plow passed, before I could clear it, and she was calling it my pile. I knew this because a neighbor, the teen on a bike who lived 2 doors down, had slid to a stop on the slush and watched the whole thing. He told me Julie was out there at dawn with her phone and a tape measure. I took a breath. "Julie," I said, "the plow makes the berm. The HOA does not own the curb strip. You cannot fine me for county snow removal." She smiled. "It is not about ownership," she said. "It is about hazard creation. You created a slip risk and the board has photographic documentation. The fine is $250 and it goes up $50 a day until you remediate." Remediate. She loved that word. It made everything sound official. I needed help. I pulled out my phone and texted my ally, a woman named Brenna who works as a community manager for another HOA 2 neighborhoods over. She had spotted violations in Julie's process before when I showed her the cocoa table notice. Brenna knew the Maryland HOA statutes cold and she hated people who abused them. I sent her a quick summary and asked if she could come by that evening. She replied in 30 seconds. "On my way after work. Bring everything." Julie was still talking. "You also missed a hearing," she said. "January 28th. You were notified by email. You did not appear. The board voted to assess a fine for non-compliance, and you are now in arrears." I stared at her. "I never got a hearing notice," I said. She shrugged. "Check your spam," she said. "Not my problem." That was escalation step 1. A notice claiming I missed a hearing I was never told about. I knew it was coming because Brenna had warned me. Julie used that tactic on anyone she wanted gone. The hearing notice would go out to an old email, or get buried in a thread with a misleading subject line, or just never be sent at all. Then the board would vote in absentia and the fine would appear on your account with interest already accruing. But I had the email chain. The management company had admitted in writing that the notice was sent 2 days after the hearing date. I had not corrected Julie's lie yet because I wanted her to commit to it in public, in front of witnesses, so she could not walk it back later. Julie turned and walked toward the mailbox cluster at the end of the block. "I need to make an announcement," she called back. I watched her go. She had a portable speaker in her other hand, a little Bluetooth unit she used to play recorded messages at the mailboxes. It was her signature detail, her power move. She would set it up, blast a 2-minute speech about violations and compliance, and leave it running while she walked away. The neighbors hated it, but no one challenged her because she controlled the communications. If you made her mad, your name showed up in the next email blast with a violation you did not commit. I went inside. I had 14 minutes before I needed to leave for work. I made coffee, ate a granola bar, and checked my email. Nothing new from the management company, but I had 3 messages from neighbors asking if I was okay. Word was spreading. Julie had been loud. At 7:15, I got in my car and drove to the county clerk's office. My supervisor, a woman named Diane who had worked there for 22 years, noticed I was tense. "You good?" she asked. I gave her the short version. She laughed. "HOA people are wild," she said. "You need a lawyer?" I shook my head. "I need a paper trail," I said. She nodded. "That I can help with," she said. I spent the day processing subdivision plat requests and trying not to think about the tow truck. At lunch, I called the management company and asked for a copy of the January 28th hearing notice. The woman on the phone hesitated. "Let me check," she said. She put me on hold for 4 minutes. When she came back, her voice was careful. "Mr. I am seeing that notice was generated on January 30th, she said. "It looks like there was a delay." I stayed quiet. She continued. "I can send you a correction," she said. "Do you want that in writing?" I said yes. She promised it by end of business. That was the evidence reveal starting to take shape. I was not going to demand a retraction yet. I was going to attach the admission to a formal demand letter and force the board to respond in writing, which would create a public record I could use if this went to court or an election. At 4:30, I got the email. It was short and bureaucratic. The management company confirmed that notice of the January 28th hearing was sent on January 30th due to an administrative error, and that any fines assessed at that hearing were therefore invalid pending a new hearing with proper notice. I forwarded it to Brenna with the subject line, "Got it." She replied immediately. "Perfect. I will be there at 6. I left work at 5 and drove home through slushy streets. The temperature had climbed to 34 degrees and everything was melting into gray slush. My driveway was a soup of ice chunks and muddy water. I parked on the street to avoid it and walked up to the house. There was a new envelope taped to my front door. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with the Sleetstone Reserve HOA letterhead. It was a claim that I damaged common property and must pay immediately or be charged daily. The damage in question: the curb and drainage system near my driveway, which Julie claimed I had obstructed with improper snow placement, causing a backup that required emergency clearance by a contracted crew. The bill was $1,100. If I did not pay within 72 hours, it would increase by $100 per day. That was escalation step 2. A claim that I damaged common property with an immediate payment demand and daily penalties. I read it twice. There was no crew. There was no backup. The county plow had not even returned since Tuesday. Julie was manufacturing a crisis. I took a photo of the letter and texted it to Brenna. Her response was immediate. "That is fraud. Do not pay. Document everything." I went inside and made a timeline. Cocoa table set up February 4th. First violation notice February 6th. Hearing notice supposedly sent January 28th but actually sent January 30th. Tow threat February 17th. Curb damage claim February 17th. Every step was escalating faster, and every step was built on fabricated evidence. At 6:05, Brenna knocked on my door. She came in with a messenger bag and a yellow legal pad. "Show me everything," she said. I spread the documents on the kitchen table. The cocoa table notice, the missed hearing letter, the email chain from management, the curb damage bill, the photos of my sidewalk, the recording of Julie at the mailboxes saying she was going to revoke my business license. Brenna went through it all in silence. When she finished, she looked up. "You have her," she said. "This is textbook abuse of process. The management company already admitted the hearing notice was invalid. That kills the fine. The curb damage claim has no supporting evidence, no invoice, no crew name, no date of service. That is unenforceable. And if she actually said on tape that she wants your business license revoked for personal reasons, that is evidence of intent. You can use this to flip the whole board. I felt the tension start to ease. What do? I asked. Brenna pulled out her phone. First, we get you to the next board meeting, she said. It is next Thursday. You are going to present all of this, along with the management company correction, and you are going to demand a full refund of any fees they have tried to assess. Second, you are going to file a complaint with the state HOA ombudsman. Maryland has enforcement mechanisms for this. Third, you are going to make copies of the recording and the email chain, and you are going to give them to at least 2 other board members before the meeting so Julie cannot isolate you or claim you ambushed her. That was the trump card deploy. I hand copies to my ally first, then we present together so Karen cannot isolate me. I nodded. What about the daily penalties? Brenna smiled. Ignore them, she said. They are unenforceable without proof of the underlying damage. If she tries to put a lien on your house, she has to go through a process that requires notice and a hearing. You will crush her at that hearing with the evidence you already have. Just do not pay anything. We spent the next hour drafting a demand letter. It was formal, specific, and backed by the email admission. It listed every invalid fine, every procedural failure, every fabricated claim. It demanded a written response within 10 business days and a full accounting of all fees assessed against my account. It also demanded that the board provide copies of the actual covenant text Julie had been citing, because I had never seen the rule about event setups and I was starting to suspect it did not exist. Brenna left at 7:30. I printed 5 copies of the demand letter, 5 copies of the email chain, and 5 copies of the timeline. I put them in a folder and set it by the door. Then I made dinner and tried to relax. At 9:15 my phone rang. It was the neighbor with the bike, the teen who had watched Julie photograph my snow pile. Hey, he said, I just saw her at the mailboxes again. She is setting up her speaker thing and she is talking about you. I grabbed my coat and walked down the block. Julie was there, crouched next to the mailbox cluster with her portable speaker on the ground. The speaker was playing a recorded message in her voice. Attention Sleetstone Reserve residents. A homeowner in violation of snow safety standards has refused to comply with board directives and is now subject to escalating penalties. The board takes safety seriously and will not tolerate obstruction. If you observe unsafe conditions, report them immediately to the communications director. I stood there and listened. The message looped. Julie saw me and smiled. You are famous, she said. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Julie, I said, what rule am I violating? She straightened up. Covenant Section 12, Subsection 4, she said. Obstruction of common areas during adverse weather. I nodded. Can I see the text? She laughed. It is in the master document, she said. You got a copy when you closed. I shook my head. I never got a master document, I said. Just the summary. Can you show me Section 12, Subsection 4? Julie picked up her speaker and turned it off. You are stalling, she said. The rule is clear. You are in violation. Pay the fine or face a lien. She walked past me, shoulder brushing mine, and headed back toward her house. I watched her go. The neighbor kid rolled up on his bike. Dude, he said, she is losing it. I nodded. She is about to lose a lot more, I said. Thursday came. I took the morning off work and printed 3 more copies of everything. At noon, I drove to the homes of 2 other board members, a retired teacher named Gordon and a software engineer named Amara. I knocked on Gordon's door first. He opened it looking wary. I know you, he said. You are the guy with the cocoa thing. I nodded. I need 5 minutes, I said. He let me in. I laid out the evidence on his dining table. The email admission. The timeline. The recording of Julie saying the board was afraid of her. Gordon read it all in silence. When he finished, he looked pale. I did not know about this, he said. She told us you refused to attend the hearing. I showed him the email chain again. He sighed. This is bad, he said. If this gets out, we could be liable. I stayed calm. It is already out, I said. I am presenting it at the meeting tonight. I wanted you to see it first so you know what is coming. Gordon nodded slowly. Thank you, he said. I appreciate that. I am going to talk to the president before the meeting. I went to Amara's house next. She answered the door with a toddler on her hip. This is about Julie, is it not? She said. I nodded. She let me in. I gave her the same rundown. She read faster than Gordon, and her expression went from neutral to angry in about 90 seconds. She lied to the whole board, Amara said. She told us you were deliberately ignoring notices. I showed her the email. Amara shook her head. I am voting to remove her tonight, she said. This is unacceptable. 2 down. I went home and changed into a button-down shirt and khakis. Brenna texted me at 5. I will be there at 6:30. You ready? I replied yes. The meeting was at 7 in the clubhouse, a small brick building near the neighborhood entrance. I arrived at 6:45. The parking lot was half full. I walked in with my folder and sat in the back row. Brenna arrived 5 minutes later and sat next to me. Gordon and Amara were already at the board table. Julie was not there yet. At 6:58, Julie walked in. She was wearing a navy blazer and carrying a leather portfolio. She saw me, and her expression went cold. She took her seat at the table and opened the portfolio. The board president, a quiet man named Terrence, called the meeting to order at 7:03. The first 20 minutes were routine business. Budget updates. Landscaping bids. Pool maintenance. Then Terrence looked at his agenda. We have a compliance matter, he said. He glanced at his notes, regarding snow safety violations. Julie, you want to present? Julie stood. She walked to the front and faced the room. We have a homeowner who has repeatedly violated snow removal and common area safety standards, she said. He was notified of a hearing on January 28th. He did not attend. The board voted to assess a fine of $250. He has refused to pay. In addition, he created a hazard by improperly placing snow in the plow route, which caused damage to the drainage system and required an emergency contractor response. The cost was $1,100. He has refused to pay that as well. As of today, he owes the association $1,350 plus accrued daily penalties. I am recommending we proceed with a lien. I stood up. Terrence looked at me. You want to respond? He asked. I walked to the front. Julie stayed where she was, arms crossed. I handed Terrence a copy of the email chain. I handed copies to Gordon and Amara. I handed one to the 4th board member, a man I did not know well. I kept one for myself. This is an email from the management company, I said. It confirms that the notice for the January 28th hearing was not sent until January 30th, 2 days after the hearing. I never missed a hearing. I was never notified. Terrence read the email. His face changed. Julie, is this accurate? He asked. Julie snatched the paper from his hand. That is an internal error, she said. It does not invalidate the hearing. The board voted. Terrence shook his head. If he was not notified, the hearing is invalid, he said. We cannot find someone who was not given proper notice. Julie's voice rose. He knew about the violations, she said. He chose not to respond. I pulled out my timeline. I handed it to Terrence. Here is a record of every notice I received, every interaction I had with Julie, and every attempt I made to get clarification on the rules she was citing, I said. You will see that I asked for the text of Covenant Section 12, Subsection 4, multiple times. She refused to provide it. Terrence looked at Julie. Do we have that section? He asked. Julie hesitated. It is in the Master Covenant, she said. Terrence opened a binder on the table and flipped through it. I do not see a subsection 4 in section 12, he said. Julie went red. It is in the supplemental rules, she said. Terrence kept flipping. There is no supplemental document in the file, he said. The room went quiet. Amara leaned forward. Julie, did you make up that rule? She asked. Julie slammed her hand on the table. I did not make anything up, she said. I am enforcing the standards this board approved. Amara shook her head. We never approved a snow safety standard, she said. I would remember that. I pulled out my phone. I have one more thing, I said. I played the recording. Julie's voice filled the room. The board will back me because they are afraid of me. The fourth board member, the man I did not know, stood up. I am not afraid of you, he said. And I am not backing this. Terrence looked at Julie. You need to step out, he said. We are going to discuss this in executive session. Julie grabbed her portfolio and walked out. The door slammed behind her. Terrence turned to me. We are going to need some time, he said. Can you wait? I nodded. Brenna and I went outside. It was dark and cold. We stood under the entrance light and waited. 25 minutes later, Terrence opened the door. Come back in, he said. We sat down. Terrence looked exhausted. The board has voted to rescind all fines assessed against you, he said. We are also voting to remove Julie Sanchez from her role as communications director, effective immediately. We are going to send a correction email to the entire community retracting any statements she made about your violations. In addition, we are going to refund any fees you have already paid, and we are going to work with the management company to develop a clear winter weather policy with neutral proof standards and a real appeal process. I felt the weight lift. Thank you, I said. Terrence nodded. I apologize, he said. This should not have happened. Brenna stood. I work in HOA management, she said. If you need help drafting that policy, I am happy to consult. Terrence looked relieved. That would be great, he said. We walked out. In the parking lot, I saw Julie standing next to her car. She was on her phone, and she was crying. I did not stop. I got in my car and drove home. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Terrence. It was the correction email, sent to the entire neighborhood. It was short and direct. It stated that previous communications regarding snow safety violations against my address were issued in error and were being retracted. It stated that the board was implementing new procedures to ensure proper notice and documentation in all compliance matters. It did not name Julie, but everyone would know. At noon, I got a call from the management company. They wanted to confirm my mailing address for the refund check. I gave it to them. The woman on the phone sounded embarrassed. We are really sorry about this, she said. We are reviewing our internal processes. I thanked her and hung up. That afternoon, I was outside clearing the last of the slush from my driveway when the teen on the bike rolled up. Dude, he said, did you hear? Julie quit. She sent an email to the board this morning. She is moving. I stopped shoveling. Where? I asked. He shrugged. I do not know, he said. But people are talking. Apparently she tried to do the same thing at her last HOA and got sued. I filed that away. It did not surprise me. If you are enjoying this HOA revenge story, hit that like button and subscribe for more neighborhood justice tales. 2 weeks later, I got the refund check. It was for $1,350, the full amount of the fabricated fines. I deposited it and bought Brenna dinner as a thank you. We met at a burger place in town. She brought a draft of the new winter policy. It was clean, specific, and fair. It included photo requirements, notice timelines, and a 3-step appeal process. The board is voting on it next week, she said. It is going to pass. I looked at the draft. This is good, I said. She smiled. You did the hard part, she said. You kept records. Most people do not. A week after that, Terrence called me. He asked if I would be willing to serve on a new compliance committee. We want resident input, he said. We do not want this to happen again. I agreed. The first meeting was scheduled for March. In early March, the board sent out the new winter policy. It was clear, it was fair, and it had teeth. If the HOA wanted to fine someone for snow removal, they had to provide photographic evidence, a written notice with a specific timeline, and an opportunity to appeal before any penalty was assessed. The policy also required the board to provide copies of any rules being cited, and it established a response deadline for management. If the HOA failed to meet those standards, the fine was void. Gordon told me later that 3 other homeowners had come forward with complaints about Julie. She had used the same tactics on all of them. Fake hearing notices, invented rules, fabricated damage claims. The board was reviewing all of her past actions, and they were finding a pattern. Terrence sent a letter to the state ombudsman documenting the abuse. I do not know what came of it, but I know Julie never worked for another HOA in Maryland. The funny karma moment came at the March board meeting. Terrence opened the floor for public comment, and one of the neighbors stood up. He was an older man who lived near the mailboxes. He cleared his throat. I just want to say, he started, that I always thought Julie's stopwatch and ruler routine was ridiculous. She used to measure my driveway apron with a tape measure and time how long it took me to shovel. She would stand there with a stopwatch like she was judging the Olympics. The room erupted in laughter. Another neighbor chimed in. She did that to me too, she said. She timed my snowblower. The laughter got louder. Terrence smiled. Well, he said, that is over now. Julie's credibility collapsed in front of witnesses. People who had been afraid of her for years were finally talking. The board received a stack of written complaints. Some dated back 3 years. Julie had created a culture of fear, and it was unraveling fast. The refund hit my account like a slap. $1,350. Clean and documented. I framed the check stub and hung it in my office as a reminder. By April, the new policy was working. The board had processed 2 legitimate snow violations with full documentation and proper notice. Both homeowners had the chance to appeal. One paid the fine. One provided evidence that the HOA was wrong, and the fine was dropped. No one complained about the process. Brenna told me later that other HOAs in the area were looking at the Sleetstone winter policy as a model. You started something, she said. I shrugged. I just wanted my car back, I said. The neighborhood settled. Spring came. The snow melted. I kept my home business license. The county never heard a complaint. The HOA never mentioned it again. I still see the neighbor kid on his bike sometimes. He always waves. I always wave back. We both know what happened, and we both know it mattered. The mailbox cluster is quiet now. No more portable speaker announcements. No more tape measures. No more stopwatch routines. Just people getting their mail and going home. I stayed on the compliance committee. We meet once a month. The work is boring and necessary. We review violations, check documentation, and make sure the process is fair. It is not dramatic, but it works. Julie never came back. Her house sold in May. A young couple moved in. They have a dog and they shovel their walk every storm. No one bothers them. I think about that tow hook sometimes. How close it was. How sure Julie was that she had won. And how fast it all turned when the truth came out. The lesson is simple. Keep records. Know the rules. Do not let someone who controls the microphone control the facts. And if someone aims an infrared thermometer at your sidewalk like it is a weapon, stay calm. Because the proof you are holding is worth more than the theater they are performing. The board adopted a clear winter policy with neutral proof standards and a real appeal process. That was the outcome I wanted. That was the outcome we got. Thank you for listening.